We grow when we give.
We grow when we give.
We grow when we give.
Nosotros crecemos cuando damos.
We grow when we give.
与えるとき成長する。
We grow when we give.
Welcome to R.O.G, Return on Generosity, a podcast celebrating generosity at work. Not financial giving, giving valuable time, alternative perspectives, and genuine collaboration.
R.O.G, episode 125, Building Bridges, Coaching Tips for Generous Leaders. I'm your host, Shannon Cassidy. Our focus today is going to be delegation. Why don't we do it? Why should we do it? And how to do it? So why don't we delegate? Well, I think there's a couple of key reasons. Number one, we want to be important. We want to matter. And we think that if we give this task or responsibility to someone else, that is going to decrease our relevance and importance. So check yourself on that one. Another reason why we don't delegate is we're afraid that people aren't going to do it right. They're not going to do it exactly the same way that we would. And we're right. They won't. And that's a good thing. They're going to do it exactly the way they would do it. So let's give people some creative flexibility in order to get something done and have them do it their way. And who knows, it might even be better. Another reason why that we don't delegate is that we are afraid of trusting people. We think they're not going to take it as seriously as we are. Maybe we're afraid they're not going to be as responsible to the deadline or a whole host of other trust issues. So another thing to self-check on. And then a fourth reason that we don't delegate is time. The time that it would take for us to teach and coach and train someone. And we think, you know what? It would just be quicker if I do it myself. Speaking of time, that's a great segue into why we should delegate. So think about all of the things that you wish you had time to do. Like you wish you had time to strategically think about your business or just time to think at all. You wish you had time to invest in your stakeholder network and you wish you had time for self-care. Well, if we don't get into the healthy habit of delegation, we are never going to just miraculously have more time. So for us to think about the time that we are afraid of spending trying to teach someone how to do something is the exact time that we could get paid back the ROI of this time investment when we invite other people to learn how to do some of the things that we're responsible for. A big reason why we want to learn how to delegate as generous leaders is because it's an opportunity for us to invest in other people, to give them an opportunity to grow and shine. So if we start with what's important to them, we have conversations with our direct reports, our peers, or whomever in the organization who is eligible to take on this thing that you're considering delegating, then having the conversation with them about what do they want to do? Like, what are some of their career aspirations? What are some of the things they're working on? Perhaps they want to be masterful at a certain thing, and the opportunity that you might delegate to them could give them more exposure to certain people or a chance to practice more frequently. So starting with the what's important to them, and then thinking about some of the things that you're currently responsible for that you might be able to invite them to do. So this week, I want you to reflect and think about, as you're doing certain things, I want you to ask yourself two questions. Number one, is this the best use of my time? And number two, is there anyone else who could do this thing? And if the answer is no to the first one and yes to the second one, then I want you to think about who could we enroll? Who could I think about bringing in to take on this thing? So giving people opportunities to grow and develop and freeing up your bandwidth so that you can take on or invest time and energy in things that are also important to you are some of the key reasons why we need to learn how to delegate. So how do we delegate? I equate this to teaching a child how to ride a bike. So you first want to find out, does the child want to ride the bike? And if they do, what would be in it for them? So they might say to you, well, it's freedom. I get to go play with my friends, or it's exercise. It's a way to get places more quickly. Okay, great. So you've established the why, the value to the individual. Now it's the how. How do I teach them how to ride the bike? So we first want to get them on the bike, and we want to hold the back of that bike really securely so they feel safe. The equivalent to that in the workplace is that you want to open up the spreadsheet or the PowerPoint deck, or you want to go to the conference room where that meeting is going to take place. You want to bring them to the thing that you're going to be delegating to them. And then you want to explain why this is important, how it gets done, when it needs to be completed, what are some of the ways in which you have found making it a success in the past, what are some of your tricks and trades and your ways of doing things that they might want to mirror and model. And then eventually you want to start walking with the bike. You want to get them moving the pedals, holding onto the handrails, practicing with the brakes, because you want them to feel what is it going to be like to do this thing on their own, but you're still holding tight to the back. And eventually you want to let them go. And then they're going to fall. And that's when some of us say, you know what, I should have just kept this myself. Look, they can't even do it. Well, of course they can't do it. They're just learning how to do it. So you want to help them get back up on the bike. You want to brush them off. You want to encourage them to try it again. You want to learn from the mistakes. What happened? What caused you to fall? And they might say, I was leaning over to the right and I just spilled. Okay. So now learn not to do that next time. So as you're teaching them how to do this thing, it's really helpful for you to check in to say, at what point do you want me to let go of the seat? Because for some of the people who we are delegating to, we are still holding on to the back of that seat. And my goodness, these people have driver's licenses already. So we want to check in and say, when do you need me to let go? When do I need to trust and empower you more? And the reverse is true too. Sometimes we're giving a child car keys and we're telling them to go run an errand, and they're not prepared for that. So how can we check in with the people in our lives that we're delegating to, ask them what's in it for them, how could you give them more opportunities to grow, and know when to let go and when to hold on. Please join us next week for episode 126 with Susan Chapman Hughes. Until then, stay generous, everyone.
Thanks for listening to R.O.G. Return on Generosity podcast. Please help us grow by subscribing and reviewing us on your favorite podcast player. And for more information, visit bridgebetween.com. We grow when we give.
우리는 나누면서 성숙합니다.
We grow when we give.
On rayonne quand on donne.
We grow when we give.